Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Laura Rosenberg and Ebro.
That's right.
We have cannabis aficionado.
Yeah.
Former NBA athlete.
That's right.
Al Harrington on the program.
Yeah.
Yes, give it up.
Thanks for having me.
But now you retired from the NBA how long ago?
2014. So this will be year 11.
Yeah.
And then you played a couple more years overseas, right?
Just 1 year. I went to China and I didn't make it the whole season. Yeah.
But you've been in the legalized cannabis business and an advocate for legalized cannabis for how long?
Since 2011. So
Got it. So while you were playing, you started on this path.
While I was playing, I made the first investment in Colorado, and you've been rolling ever since.
Was there a logic to it besides just enjoying marijuana and thinking there was
Well,
money to be
for
made?
me, it was a purpose behind mine. You know, I had my then 79-year-old grandmother try cannabis for her glaucoma pain. And had to try it when checked on it like an hour and a half later. And she was downstairs, crying, reading her Bible. It was the first time she'd seen the words in her Bible in over 3.5 years.
Wow.
So that's what inspired me to really learn about cannabis and eventually, turn it into what it is today. So
Was
that's
she
how we got
open?
there.
Was she open when you're like, let's try this? Because, older folks have this stigma on cannabis. Like, it might as well be heroin to them. You know what I mean?
Well, my grandmother, too, because, she was so religious.
Yeah.
They think weed's cocaine
Exactly.
and heroin and all the same
It's the
shit.
gateway drug and everything. But I always say it was I guess it was divine intervention because even like my uncles all struggle with addiction.
Yeah.
And just for her to be like, because even when I told her about it first, I was calling it cannabis.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
she
yeah.
finally was like, well, what is cannabis? And I was like, marijuana, weed. She was like, reefer? She's like, boy, I ain't smoking no
Wow,
reefer.
I ain't smoking no reefer.
She's like, reefer. But like I said, we talked about it for a while and it took me some convincing.
Yeah.
Did it become a regular part of her life?
It did. You know what I'm saying? So what she did was when she went back home, I was sending her little stuff or whatever. And then eventually she was still having gatherings at our house for the church. So she stopped using because she was like, I feel like everybody's looking at me weird when they come in my house, So then that's what made me learn about concentrates and learn about the extraction starter process.
Which is oils and
the
gummies
oils and stuff
and
where you can now be able to consume without nobody knowing in a discreet manner. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So when my business first started, we started off as a concentrate company pretty much because of her.
Wow,
I
that's
think
really cool.
I had a similar situation with my mom. My mom's a cancer survivor, and she has bad arthritis in her hands.
Right.
And we talked about topical lotions and stuff, and it's changed everything for her.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
this plant, this plant is magnificent. It has so many use cases
Yeah.
that we're finding now. It's over 2,300
that's why they
use
made it
cases
illegal,
today.
though. They knew it
Exactly.
when they made it illegal because it conflicted with big pharma, it conflicted with hemp, conflicted with cotton. Like they knew what they was doing when they was getting rid of it.
They
It
know
was a business
exactly.
decision.
Yes, sir. We always say, I'm like, Jesus wore him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how far it goes back to your point.
Yeah. So they people have always known the medical benefits, but because it can't be like I could grow it in my house. That gets in the way of big business.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I believe it was outlawed anyway, because they couldn't control the growing of it.
Correct.
I've been fortunate to be invited on to be a part of the Cannabis Advisory Board in the state of New York. Yeah. And a woman by the name of Andrea Stewart Cousins invited me because she would come on the program and I would actually talk to her. And I was all for the expungement of people's records and people who had nonviolent offenders getting out of jail. And I was for all of that. But I was very passionate about the health and wellness aspect of it, right? Because I feel like that's the part, people, when the legalization thing was rolling out, it was like everybody was like, yeah, we get to smoke weed. And I was just kind of like, fam, people who want weed already got weed.
Right.
Like, getting weed isn't a problem, right? The issue was, helping communities that, the high cost of pharmaceutical prescriptions, the wear and tear of pharmaceutical prescriptions put on the liver and kidneys, and figuring out alternative methods of healing and just, helping people, with their challenges, physical challenges. What when you're looking at the market now and all of the legalization, what is kind of that aspect of the marijuana business? Is it a lot about health and wellness, or is it still just recreational people just having a good time?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think that, when you look at it from a medicinal standpoint and when you talk about it from that standpoint, it seems a little boring.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's usually those conversations for people that are really sick and really looking for alternative ways, right? And, I get a lot of those conversations. I was just like at the Cowboys game the other day, and this lady sat next to me and she was telling me some, things that her mom is dealing with. And she's like, what would you recommend? in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that's when the medicinal side kicks in. But I think that as a whole, like the nation, I would say, is, you know, mostly like recreational users, right? But at the end of the day, I always say, especially like for our community, right? Because lack of going to the doctors and all this type of stuff, I feel like most people use cannabis for different reasons that are medicinal that they don't even know about or they haven't been diagnosed with. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, you got that side of it. And then on the health and wellness side, like you said, you know, as an athlete, you know, I had to take anti-inflammatories for my knees and my back for like 7 straight years. I took a brand called Celebrex. And then when you really look at the fine print of what that did to my body, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to pay for that when I'm like in my 50s and 60s, for sure. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I could have been using cannabis. I could have been taking edibles. I could have been taking the oils. I could have been using the creams. You know what I'm saying? And then set myself up for a better quality of life as I get older. So that's something that I definitely had talked to like Commissioner David Stern about at one point, you know, and just telling him like with the players, you know, like we have to give them alternative ways because to your point with the addiction side of it, you know what I'm saying? You know how many players have started taking something and then couldn't get off of it, right? But then you blame them at the end, right? And then you kick them out the league and destroy their lives. You know what I'm saying? So how I look at it is like, I feel like drugs kill people, right? So you can't say cannabis is a drug because it can't kill you. Right, we could smoke pounds and pounds and pounds back to back to back to back. Nothing, we're never gonna overdose. You know what I'm saying? But we could take 5 pills and be out of here. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely, you know, a difference in, you know, obviously, you know, the pharmaceutical to the cannabis industry. And, you know, the good thing about it is that, you know, as time has been evolving, you know, people are starting to understand, like, how these cannabinoids can play a fact in our lives, you know, from a health and wellness standpoint.
In every village, flowers find a home. Village grand opening and ribbon cutting. Where's this dispensary?
It's in Hoboken, New Jersey, 516 Washington Street. You know, it's been 3 years in the works, you know what I'm saying? Just like, you know, in most of these states, it takes a lot of hard work and patience and dedication to, you know, see some of these businesses through and get them to, you know, to get to execution of actually opening your doors. But, you know, we had a great partner there, the community there, and obviously in the beginning, definitely had the stigma behind it, you know. But, you know, we met with council members. I think we had maybe like 6 meetings where we had to keep coming in and telling stories and, you know, bringing videos from our other locations and stuff like that to get the community to realize that, you know, we wasn't bringing something that was dangerous and harmful. They were worried about getting robbed and, you know, people being killed at the shops and stuff like that. And, you know, we had to tell them our experience of like, you know, that we've seen that, you know, when legal cannabis come into a lot of these cities and states or whatever, that crime, you know, drops because of it. You know what I'm saying? So
it provides more jobs, obviously.
You know, a little bit of everything, you know, and obviously just a healthier way for patients to get cannabis because right now, you know, with the fentanyl and all this other stuff, you know, when you're just buying off the street, you don't know what you're getting. But at least when you buy out of a dispensary, you know that it's been tested and, you know, it's passed the test for it, you know, from a health standpoint.
And there's some research that supports the idea that people who have other addiction problems can work their way out of those addictions by using cannabis for that.
Correct. And you got states like California uses it, Oregon, those are two at the top of my head that I think Colorado now uses cannabis in a lot of the drug addiction centers, you know, to obviously wean people off some of the stuff that they, you know, really struggling with.
So what day is the ribbon cutting?
Yeah, so the ribbon cutting is actually Friday. September 20th, and then we have our grand opening on the 21st.
Got it. All right, that's
Nice.
fantastic.
How many dispensaries do you own?
Right now, this is our 5th.
In all over the country?
All over, yeah. So we have 2 in Illinois, we have 2 in Missouri, we have 1 in New Jersey, we are working on another one in Jersey, and then we're about to open up 1 in Maryland.
And how do you feel New Jersey and Governor Phil Murphy, and I want to shout out the young lady who heads up the cannabis kind of policy over there, who I've been talking to a lot. Diana, yes, Diana. Shout out to Diana. How's Jersey doing?
Jersey's doing good. I mean, from a standpoint of the market, financially, it's doing great.
Got it.
I'm saying I think that there's exceeding expectations on all the numbers and stuff like that. But, you know, I think still a challenge like everywhere else. You know, there's a lot of people that have licenses but don't have the, you know, the funding to be able to
get a facility, a brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar. You know, to hold them, you know, I would say on average it costs about $1 million to open up a dispensary. You know, depending on the size, maybe you could save a couple dollars or you could spend a lot more, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, those are some of the challenges that especially people from our community are struggling with, you know what I'm saying? But there are some solutions that are hopefully coming around and, you know, we've done a good job in the past of, you know, trying to, you know, extend our resources to a lot of those people as well. So, but it's a fight.
I have a lot of conversations with, people think because they sold some weed that they could open a dispensary. Everybody thinks they can open a dispensary. And people who have licenses, often I'm always like, start small.
Right.
Build a community, get a small little retail storefront in a nice small community and start small and build your clientele. Don't try to open a something that looks like an Apple retail store as your first swing at owning a business, right? Because I've been watching this for a while and I saw what happened in like a state like Washington where everybody gets a license.
Right.
And then a year later, everybody can't stay
Oklahoma.
open. And then they end up selling their license to big corporations who pay them a flat fee. And then they basically, now the whole market is run by, well, not all of it, but a lot of it is run by these big corporate,
MSOs.
dispensaries.
Yep.
And so to keep it mom and pop, which I think we've done a good job in how things were written for New York State, to try to keep it so that small businesses can exist. Do you think New Jersey has figured that out also, and it feels like the small businesses are going to succeed?
I think that the jury's still out on that.
Got it. It's too early.
Yeah, it is a little too early because to your point, like with these MSOs, like if the laws stay kind of the regulations stay the way they are today, where there's a limited amount of stores, then I think maybe these small mom and pops will have a chance. But we don't know where the industry's going to be at tomorrow.
Right.
Things change so fast.
Right.
Are
Are there protections in New Jersey policy to keep a big corporation from buying up a bunch of licenses? Because I know there is in New York State, the way Chris and them wrote the law.
Yeah, so for right now, I think you only have 4 stores, right? And I think you could also have other ownership interests, but I think it has to be like less than 10% or whatever. And those big companies can't invest at that small of a number because most of them are publicly traded.
So there is a protection.
So there is a protection.
So for anybody watching this, just only because I sit in these meetings, I firmly believe that big corporations pay politicians to try to destabilize these laws.
Correct, 1,000%.
Right? Because they donate to their campaign, so the interests lie with the people making the big donations.
Correct.
And so if they can find flaws in the market, either the way the policy's written, the disbursement of tax revenue back into the community is a problem, the too many closures of business, too much opening, people not paying taxes, whatever, they can say that the policy is written wrong and then try to write the policy in favor of major corporations, which ultimately will destroy the opportunities for small businesses, and specifically the communities that were most terrorized by drug laws, because that's why most states are trying to do here. They're trying to give an opportunity to the black and brown neighborhoods that were over-policed, and, because most black kids and brown kids are the ones that went to jail for weed. Right. White kids didn't really go to jail for weed. They get a little warning, slap on the wrist in their neighborhood. But if you get stop and frisk New York City, it was mostly black kids getting locked up for joints and little bags and whatever.
85% of drug arrests in our communities was cannabis related.
Yeah.
Specifically.
So homes were destroyed. Fathers was yanked out of homes. You had all of this stuff that literally had generational impact. So a lot of these states were like, listen, this is an opportunity for us to provide not only jobs, but entrepreneurialism and tax revenue going back to these communities to try to fix wrongdoings. But I believe ultimately when this money starts to come back,
right?
Yeah.
Because we're about to see it. Because Jersey's been legal a year?
Yeah, right.
So now dispensaries are opening. Next 2025, we'll get to see how much tax dollars they collected. Yep. When you guys start seeing they collected $100 million in taxes, and $50 million of that is going specifically to black and brown neighborhoods and organizations that serve those communities, that's when you're going to see major corporations and people like, wait, they're getting how much money?
Right.
Oh, nah. Fuck that. And so you're going to have to fight for that money.
You grew up in Jersey.
Right.
But which is really dope that you have the spot here now. But obviously you became a star in Indiana. Mm-hmm. Is weed an option in Indiana? And is that on your list of things to do?
Weed is not an option in Indiana right now.
Otherwise, I'm guessing you'd be there.
I would be for sure. But it's funny, like all the border towns of Michigan is kicking ass because of it. Yeah.
And so Indiana hasn't been on it yet.
They haven't been on it yet. They're not even considering it.
Wow.
Really? Wow. So they're missing all that tax revenue.
They're missing out on all the money right now. Yep. Certain states aren't even looking at, like even Texas. Texas is like, I think they have like a very small medical program, but yeah, a lot of people are missing out right now.
Random basketball question before we let you go. What was your relationship like with Larry Legend? He brought you to Indiana, right?
He did, but I got a quick story about that. So I got drafted, draft night here in Jersey, South Orange, New Jersey, a restaurant called Nisi's. All excited, drove to Manhattan to the city to party, forgot that I was 18 years old, couldn't go nowhere, go back home. Next morning, I had to flight out early in the morning, and I had this guy that was going to manage me at the time. He was like a little obese kind of guy or whatever. So we go to get in the cab, and he can't fit in the door to get into the cab. So we had to wait for a van. I missed my flight. My family make the flight. So I get on the next flight. When I walk into the room, I meet Larry Bird for the very first time. The very first time. He looks at me and he says, "Don't ever fucking be late again."
That was the first words Larry ever said to you?
He didn't say, "Welcome to the team. Excited to have you." He said, "Don't fucking be late again."
And were you ever late again?
I was never late again. But I always feel like I tell people this story all the time. I think he held that against me the whole 2 years he coached me. I felt like he
because he was head coach at the time,
too. He was the head coach, man. So I felt like he held that against me. Did
you guys never got a great relationship, you thought?
I wouldn't say, it was good, just not great. You know what I'm saying? I think it could have been a lot better.
Did you ever tell him the story that it was the little obese manager that was the reason you missed the flight?
I told him then, and he didn't care. He was like, "I don't care. Don't be late again." He was old school, bro. Like you had to be on time. It meant something.
But then he was head coach, and then he was president of the team after that.
Yeah, but that was like years later. When he came back as a president, I think I was gone already.
Got it. Do you have Rick Carlisle too?
Rick Carlisle was my coach too.
What was Rick Carlisle like?
Best X and O coach I ever had.
Really?
Like out of all, and I guess I played for some legends, George Karl, Don Nelson, but
wow, you really did play for some legends.
Rick Carlisle played. He was the best though. Wow. He draws something up, it works every time.
Wow, that's dope, man. Congrats on this, Al. This is very cool,
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Keep grinding, man. And, once again, over in Hoboken, New Jersey, the opening of Village is what it's called.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Takes a village, man.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think cannabis is a business that everyone should be looking at right now? If you're an entrepreneur. Do you feel like it, or do you feel like it's oversaturated?
I wouldn't say it's oversaturated yet. I think there's still opportunities, but I think it's around the alternative ways of using the plant. I just think if you just want to just get in just to grow it, to just sell weed or whatever, then it might. You haven't missed the boat, because maybe if you grow some shit that nobody else has.
Good luck.
Which is good luck, right? But if you might be able to have some genetics nobody have and can start you something small. I think just like, you'll have like, the Coronas and all that, then you have like the craft. So I think you have like craft cannabis and stuff like that. So if you got like a crazy green thumb, it can grow something that's like, that'll impress people like us that smoke all the time, then go for it. But I think there's other ways, like, there's some stuff out here called like hemp block and stuff like that. So there's like, and overseas, they're starting to build like homes and malls and plazas made out of hemp and stuff like that. Because if you know anything about hemp, hemp is fire resistant, water resistant. You know what I'm saying? Like it's way better than, building with wood. Even damn near cement, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of other ways that I think you can get involved, besides just growing it.
But as far as an industry, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of jobs from understanding the plant and its usage and what the future looks like.
For sure. You know what I'm saying? I think you obviously got a lot of states that still haven't flipped yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a lot of opportunity for job creation and stuff like that.
There it is. Al Harrington.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck. Saturday.
Yes, sir.